Today we'll be talking about how do you actually, put a bit of extra energy into that employee experience. And we might be out of the crazy times where staffing was a huge issue, but I also think now more than ever, we're in the phase when I talk with operators, how do I actually build an employee experience so they stay with me, the people now I got on board, and actually how do we actually make sure we help them not just at work but outside work, and that goes everything from the mental health to economic health. And for that, we have a great guest today, actually, that can talk about definitely, I think it talk about both, but actually mostly about how can we actually make sure that the staff actually have maybe a bit more financial headroom than they normally would have by working together with them and brilliant product hospitality reward. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Good afternoon, Michael. How are
Yeah, I
you?
hope I got your position well there, Dan. But give me a bit of a an idea about who you are. Then lots of people know you already in the industry, and what and how you actually ended up with Hospitality Reward and the mission you guys are on.
Certainly. So, I guess I should say Hospitality Rewards, what we are to start with. We're the
Mhm.
first benefits platform specifically built for hospitality workers. So, we're a tool to help businesses with their recruitment and retention. And how did we come up with the idea? Well, I used to run a company called the Staff Canteen. It's the biggest network
Mhm.
of professional chefs. So in doing that, I was out and about all the time, especially back of house in the kitchen. And what I could see was it was really tough for people. It was tough conditions. It was low pay, and and as a career, it wasn't easy. And I knew that we needed to do something about that. And running alongside of that, my business partner Alex had been looking at staff benefits within hospitality, and particularly had been tracking a company called Perkbox to see what they were doing with benefits. And what he felt was that they weren't doing enough for hospitality workers, and that there was something that we could do to support those workers and support those businesses. And so we looked at that, we went back through everything, we surveyed all of our members at the staff canteen, and the feedback was consistent. How can they give more to their employees? How can businesses support them more? And financial, physical, and mental health was
Mm.
a key place to start.
And what was it that you learned when you did those surveys? What were like typical the challenges that staff was facing?
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing was that staff were low wage, low earners. So I think hospitality, I think it's improved now, but
Mm.
but 3 or 4 years ago, it was one of the lowest sectors in the UK in terms of average annual wage. And so a key thing was how can they get more for their money in general? So on everyday goods, how can they be supported doing that? And how can companies support their employees doing that? So that was something that we really focused in on and wanted to help with. And then the sort of supporting element of that comes back to sort of more around the mental health side. So having a healthy workforce, having a healthy, productive workforce. So again, having some key benefits in place that support your team's mental health. So actually, they go hand in hand, financial and mental health. A lot, they're not separate.
No. Um, and where are we then? If you from your seat, where are we today? Because of course there has been changes in, it's forced by demand. Salary increase has gone up, and then also there has been national wage increases, and it's going to be one more here to April. It's one of the big topics right now. But I guess also the inflation and general cost pressure has also eaten much of that
Yeah. So,
increase.
so from a business point of view, it certainly started back with Brexit and
Mm.
losing a lot of staff. We know about that, a lot of international staff. COVID, because obviously hospitality had to shut down for a while, drove a lot of employees to other sectors. So from supermarket deliveries. So finding staff has become increasingly difficult. And then, as you've just highlighted, businesses at the moment, the costs are for produce, for energy, it's really high. So trying to support those businesses with their recruitment and retention has become more and more important. If you look at an average churn rate at the moment, it's quite right, but it's probably around 75%. So, I mean, that's crazy. You've got 100 people in your business every year. You're having to pay to recruit 75 new people. The average cost to recruit and onboard somebody is £2,000. So you're spending 150,000 a year on recruitment and retention. So wouldn't it be good if there was a tool which helped you do that, helped reduce those costs? And that's what we're trying to do. Not a silver bullet. Sadly, there is no silver bullet out there, as all HR managers will tell you. But I think there are ways that we can support businesses with this.
Yeah, yeah, because it would be great if you could talk a bit more in detail about, the elements that is in the solution, because I think that's actually where, from my own experience in developing HR strategies, implementing employee experience journeys, where you actually there's so many touch points you need to balance. You need to get them extra right for your organization, where it is in the life cycles, the challenges is up against, the type of culture you want to build, and benefits and compensation is a huge part of that evaluation every year when you look at your strategy and plans. That how do you actually get that working? And one thing, benefits and compensation is more than setting the salary and making sure you hit that budget. It's much more than that in my view.
Yeah, and I would say that when I get asked what's the best way to retain staff, I would always say, look, the first three things, sorry, are salary, learning and development, and culture. So they're the three things that as a business and our businesses that we focus on. You need to get those right. Underneath of that, there are other benefits and key benefits that you can put in place to help support that. So with hospitality rewards, we focus on three core areas on our app. So one is health and well-being, one is saving money on everyday goods, and one is making going out more affordable. And all three of those are relevant to hospitality workers who are often of a younger age, a lower wage, and by the nature of their business, they actually enjoy going out and being sociable. So delivering benefits that support that is what we've tried to do.
And one of the things I noticed, like, it was very interesting what you have access to was like the whole mental health and doctor appointments as well, which I thought was like quite a strong proposition, from definitely making it available from a business side
Yeah, I mean,
to your staff.
we'd looked at the GP support, as you'll know at the moment. Actually, I've got a young son, and back in October, I called the doctors to make an appointment for him. He had a bit of a rash, nothing major, and I spoke to the receptionist, and she said, "Is it an emergency?" I was like, "No." She said, "Okay, the doctor will call you back in 8 days' time." And it's really tough. And if you're running a business and your employees are ill, they need help as quickly as possible to get back to work. So yeah, we introduced a 24/7 GP support. And importantly, that's not just for the employee, that's for the employee's family. So where we can, we make all of our benefits relevant for the employee's family. So again, we have an EAP, We're a little bit different because our EAP offers 8 face-to-face counsellor sessions. It's a little bit more because in my experience, if you go and see a counsellor, sometimes you don't hit it off first time, so you'd use up a session. So 8 sessions are a good number. So the GP and the counsellor support are particularly important for that physical and mental health and aspect. So that's I guess in a way that underpins our app. You know, that's the support mechanism, and then on top we've got the sort of the financial elements, which which get used much more, I guess.
If you like, you should give some examples of typical the use cases where you get in and help hospitality businesses and their employees. What is the typical one, and where have you seen some, like, really great, stories and impact it has on, both the employee's life maybe, but also the company's, employee experience.
Yeah, so I would say the biggest one that we get is that businesses are struggling to give their staff wage increases. So, and obviously, minimum wage is going up, so businesses have less money. So, quite often, the question we get asked, and how we're helping people is how can we make how can you help our employees' money go further? Okay,
Mm.
so one of the products we have, which is fairly unique, is a cashback card. So it's a bit like a prepaid card. It's not a credit card. So you can just top it up with money, and then you can use it at lots of different retailers, but specifically supermarkets. And so the use case, I mean, I give an example. We work with a hotel group in the southwest called Brand Hotels. They've got 1,200 staff. It's a really great family-run business. And we know we've had feedback from a couple of their employees. One particular one who, over the course of the last 12 months, he got back nearly £200 cash from just doing his regular food shopping. So it was like, to him, it was like 2-3 weeks food shopping. So that was one case. The second case, from the same hotel group, actually an interesting one. A chap had just moved into a new flat and it was unfurnished. So he then used the cashback card. He went to IKEA where he got 8% back. He went to B&Q and he actually saved, fully kitting out his flat, £500 in cash. So, so for people on a lower wage, this is vital. It makes a huge difference. It's tax-free cash for these people. And for a business, if you add up what they're saving their workforce, in a way, what money they're putting back in their workforce's pockets, it's thousands and in some cases £10,000 plus. So
Mm.
so we've got lots of cases like that, and that's one of the joys of doing what I do. It's hearing about people where this is making a real difference to their lives.
Yeah, and how far are you with things? How many has signed up to this? How many is involved with this? Both companies, employees, because it's you've been on a journey, and you're definitely getting incremental gains, I would say, from where you
Yeah,
started.
we're a startup. Sometimes it feels like it. So we'll be 3 years old in June this year. We'll be celebrating. Um, and at the moment, we've got just under 10,000 employees using our app. And that's across just over 100 businesses. So
Mm.
we and this is about supporting hospitality. Both Alex, my business partner, and I, you know, we want to support hospitality. It needs as much help as it can get. So we're adamant that we work with businesses of any size. So we've got some businesses that have 5 to 10 staff in, and some businesses, well, like I've already said, that has thousands of staff in. So we're still at the start of our journey, but it's amazing to see the difference we're making for businesses with their retention. and for individuals with saving money and supporting their health.
Like cashback is not a new thing, and reward and discount and so on. What is it that you're doing different besides you are focusing on, you talked about Perkbox, which is one of the most known platform for this, but you're really focusing on the hospitality sector. That's your focus, that's your niche. But what is it that makes you different from the already existing solutions out there?
Okay, so there are some benefits that we have that are similar, but we have some unique benefits as well. So the cashback card is unique. So traditionally, with benefit platforms, you've been able to get shopping vouchers, so
Mm,
e-vouchers and gift cards. And what you do is you can purchase them at a discounted rate.
yeah,
And that's great. But one of the feedback we got to do with those is that, one, you can only use it at one brand at a time, and
yeah,
two, you have to purchase the voucher, download it before you go out. So that's fine on some products if you know before, you know what you want. But what the cashback card does, it sort of takes that, it's a bit different. So you can use it at 90 different venues, and actually you don't have to download anything. Once you've got the card, you can just be out and about and you just pay like you would normally pay with your debit card. So it's what we call frictionless. It just makes that process much easier. And I think that's super important in terms of usability of benefits. And then the second one, which we may come back to later, is our industry discounts, so our venue discounts. That's you don't find that on Perkbox or other places. So that's a massive thing for us, which are happy to elaborate on.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Talk a bit more about that, because that's really an interesting aspect I found as well with what you do. Talk a bit more about how that work, and because that's probably where there might be some huge savings within it for people, especially if you go out a lot.
yeah, so this goes on unofficially. So let's say, Michael, you work in a local restaurant. Your restaurant might have talked to the pub next door and the cafe next door and said, "Hey guys, can if our employees come in, will you give a discount?" Yeah, sure we will. And then what happens is their employees go in, and perhaps somebody serving doesn't know about the deal, they can't get the deal, and it's very restrictive just on those two places. And what we want to do is we believe that hospitality should be a little bit like NHS workers who have the blue light card. So you should be able to, as a hospitality worker, say you work in a pub, you should be able to go into another restaurant, a bar, a hotel, a cafe, and say, "I work in hospitality," and they go, "Great, we're going to give you a discount because we're going to help you."
Mm.
Now imagine, Michael, that if in the UK hospitality industry, everybody was doing that. So workers would be getting discounts when they go out to eat and drink. Businesses would be driving additional footfall, and the ecosystem would be supporting itself to a degree. So, so that's the vision. We have a category on our app called Perks, and we currently have around 1,000 industry venue discounts all over the UK. Has to be all over the UK. So there's Code Hospitality, which is quite exclusive. It's a great product. It's exclusive and it's a bit more London centric. We believe it should be UK wide and inclusive. So by that I mean it doesn't matter what type of pub, bar, restaurant you are, you should be able to go onto the platform and benefit from the footfall of hospitality workers coming through your door. So it's quite simple, really. You just go onto the app, you put your location in, you see what's near you. You can then go in, and on our app, you have a membership card. You show your card, and you get normally between 10 and 30% discount. That's the norm. So we have a vision we believe by later on this year, we'll have 2 or 3 thousand discounts. We've partnered with the British Innkeepers Institute, so we think that will help us. but our sort of our top target at the moment is 10,000 venues. And
Uh,
sorry, I
yeah.
just guess one other thing that springs to mind is in January we Green King came on board, which is really exciting, really exciting. So they've put 300 of their pubs as a first step. Um, and we had nearly 500 redemptions in January at their pubs. You know what? That's a really great start. So, and by them giving that discount, their staff can also access these discounts on our platform. So it's sort of like a win-win. So yeah, it's exciting.
What is what is like what do you think the future looks for, like when it comes to reward and benefits? Because it's in the principle an area that hasn't been much disrupted. It's been very static, I would say, in all the years I can remember, decades, what you do there. And it's just now technology makes it, more agile. It can do other things than it could before. But what do you think the major disruption is when it comes to this area coming in the next 5 years, especially in hospitality?
Yeah, I would say for hospitality, it's about scale of the benefits. So you do have a varied workforce. So you need to have the right benefits and the scale of benefits in place. I would say usability is probably the very, very top of the list. You know, so many businesses, and I speak to individuals who've used other benefits are like, why don't you use it? Why don't you use it? Oh, it's just really hard to use. So, and that's a technology thing. So making sure that the way that you access and redeem those benefits is easy and integrated. So I think that will be a massive thing. And then the final piece is um, um, local or localization. So people often think about what's local to them, even with online. So making sure that benefits are based upon your location. So in real time, when you're out, you might get a notification and it says, "Oh, you know, Bill's Pizza has 30% off this week." Oh, okay, brilliant. So I'd say they're the three main things where this is going.
And that's super interesting. Again, it's again how technology can do, as I often call, the heavy lifting to actually make the experience better for, in principle, the user, but also from a financial point of view, it will benefit the businesses because it becomes more seamless. The transactions does happen. The customer will come to you, especially when you talk about the perks bit, which I think is a very interesting thing to work on, and especially in the days where you are, you're normally your traffic goes quite down, and there's a lot of hospitality businesses now that have these peak days, and then they really have to build these shoulder days. It's not hours we're talking about; we're talking shoulder days where you actually your Mondays and Tuesdays and sometimes Wednesdays even. You really need to build that extra momentum in your business some kind of way.
Michael, just on that. So in hospitality, there were 3 million. There's slightly less now
Mm.
working in the UK hospitality industry. Imagine if 50% of those were, as you've just said, going into other hospitality venues, and as you've just said, perhaps on the days when they're not as busy, that would really support those businesses. So I think having a tool that fosters that and allows that to happen is really exciting. Actually, I think it should be exciting for the sector.
If we now you just touch on a mega data point, how many employees there is in the industry. So again, very big industry, quite important for the economy, often said, but maybe not supported in the way it should have been. That's definitely, I definitely have my doubts about that, and other people would have that. And but what is like, if you now, if we zoom a bit out now and say, okay, we came out of the pandemic, we had all our short-term challenges with cash, inflation, staffing crisis, shortage in supply chain. I don't. There's so many challenges. Utility bills. You can just keep on layering them. Business rates. You can keep on coming up with things that just hit the industry. What do you think in the place we're in now? What is the biggest challenge that you would like to see go away from the industry that doesn't make it really thrive right now?
Um, I think it comes back to employees. I think, the employees are the heartbeat of hospitality. We're very lucky as a business. We have an amazing, diverse workforce. And I think that, if we can support that workforce better, if we can make them proud to work in hospitality, I think that that has a ripple effect outside of hospitality. It will bring people in, it will bring customers in. So I think that's the thing. I think we and there's a lot of good stuff happening, Michael. There is a lot of good stuff happening.
Hmm.
There's a lot of there's so we speak to so many people, and I have to say, I think from looking after people, it's looking much brighter now, which I'm
Hmm.
excited about. So that for me is the big thing where I'd like to see this, even more than we're doing now.
Yeah, and do you think about as well being recognized as an industry that's very good at that in a way?
Yeah, I think it could be better. So I think,
Mm,
there's lots of different bodies who are trying to help with that, and there's Hospitality
yeah,
Rising who are doing really great creative campaigns. I think people could work more in their communities to work with the local communities. I think that's really good. The BII do a lot of work in the communities through their 13,000 um, um, members, and I think, I think there's more we could be doing, but I think that's a massive thing for us as well. Um, yeah,
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 and I guess that's what you're trying to do, help through your product actually to make that a little bit easier. As you said, it's not the whole solution, it's not the silver bullet, but there's actually elements of this that's quite important. Your pay and your what cash do we have on the bottom line at the end of the month in a way.
yeah. I think from a business, it's a straightforward model. It's if you put hospitality rewards into a business, it helps staff feel more valued, it supports them financially, and it helps get them back to work when they're not feeling great, whether that be mentally or physically. So that saves the business money and means they don't have to spend as much on recruitment. So I think from that element, it's absolutely right. I think from an employee element, like I said, if we can build out our industry venue discounts, I think when people look in, especially younger students, people coming out of university, and they're like, wow, if I could work in hospitality, it's a great career path. And look at this, I can go and eat everywhere I go out. I can go and get a discount. I think that's important to young people. They like that sort of thing. And I think for us as a business, we're literally at the, like I said, 2.5, 3 million people. So I think we can really grow within that. It's a big market. I think there's a huge amount of potential there for hospitality rewards.
If you take your own journey, you are also running a business. There's no doubt it's been a challenging year. Like we thought the pandemic was challenge. I often say, yeah, pandemic was the pandemic. I actually think what we're in now is much more challenging. It's a bit like sitting on the tiger and fighting with the python at the same time. Um,
Actually.
what have been like what because when I talk business leader, they all have like different learnings they take with them from the last couple of years. What has been like your most significant learning as a business owner?
Yeah, I think with our business, obviously, we'll be different to others because we're a startup. But for ours, it's sort of be laser focused on one, maybe two areas. It's very easy to be pulled around. Um,
Mm,
and even with hospitality rewards, where we've got probably six great benefits, actually, if anything, we've been guilty of, you know, promoting them all equally, whereas we should have really focused on the ones I've been talking about. So I think that'd be my real, if I could probably go back, which obviously I don't want to because you learn from what happens. But if I could go back, would probably focus a bit more maybe on the industry discounts and really drive that forward because it means a
mm,
lot to hospitality employees,
mm.
and it resonates with them. They understand it. So that would be it. It'd be really laser focused on your core USP. I would say it's easy to
Yeah,
get pulled down. We all know that you run your own business. Just it's
the
easy to
20% they get 80%, and I was actually reflecting as you were saying that, and I was we were presenting something, and I thought, okay, we actually need to narrow more down, even though you feel you're focused, but when you start reflecting over it, you can always increase that focus because you are doing things that comes, one of the things I feel when we have similar business, similar place in the life cycle, for me is the post kitchen, where there's lots of opportunity hitting you. There are lots of things you could do, but what is that 20% to give 80%? And how do you make sure you're focusing on them, you 80% of your time? And that's hard. That demands discipline and the ability to cut things away and say no and be okay about it and say
yeah
that will come in the future. It will come back. Don't worry. We don't have to say yes to that. We don't have to say yes to something that will maybe just steal our time now because we might not be ready for it or whatever it is that maybe it's okay to say no to that investor because that's not the right investor long term. So yeah, it's like all these dilemma often in smaller business, but I think you have them in big business. That's also my I work for big business and I think it was the same, but there was just a bit more wriggle room than there is a small business. But I think all hospitality is really down, in my view, to mastering the 20% that gives 80 is really key now. You cannot afford to go to 40/60. You cannot afford to go to 30/70. You need to be always pulling down to the 20% on that specific day. What is the 20% that moves the needle today?
yeah. Less is more, Michael. Just have three points on your to-do list. Any more than three, they're not going to get done.
I've done four today, and I have a couple of more,
Yeah,
but all the critical ones are done. So I start. My view is that you start eating your frogs, like Brian Tracy would say. So you do your first four really critical one, and then you get them out of the way, and then there might land other critical ones, but you can always push them a day ahead or weekend in front of you.
absolutely.
That was a great reflection. Thank you for that, Dan. What are you most excited about right now? What is like, it's tough times, but there's something to be excited about. There's always opportunities in challenges.
You know what? Most exciting is definitely our perks and our industry discounts. I mean that
Mm,
really excites me. It excites me because we're bringing on household brands. We're bringing on independents. It excites me. That really does. I really think it could be massive for the industry to have that. The other thing that excites me, Michael, is supporting other people in the hospitality sector who need help. So we work with. I want to just quickly mention this. We work with Only a Pavement Away. It's an amazing charity.
mm, yeah.
Hospitality Rules. When we first launched, we said, listen, for every new employee, we want to donate to a hospitality charity. We're passionate about the sector. And so when we launched, we worked with the Burnt Chef Project. And then last year, we worked with Hospitality Action. But this year, we're with a really small charity, Only a Pavement Away. And what they do is they work with other charities, like homeless charities, and they basically mentor and train um, homeless people, and then working with some amazing hospitality employers, they put those people into employment, and then they continue to support those people once they're in the employment.
Mm.
So for me, that excites me, because as our business grows, for every employee we donate to that charity. So it's a really, really amazing cause, and it's great to help with that. So I think that
Yeah.
that's something, and it's not easy. We're a new business; every penny counts. But I
Yeah, it
think
does.
that's something you need to, I think it's an important part of what we do.
Yeah, and I think it's very key that you get that into the business model from early on, and it becomes like the thing just happens as the business grow. It's not like something you runs as a project we talked a bit about before we went on, and you can commit to different things, but always something that really is close to the values. And I think like you're creating mobility there again in the job market, and you are helping businesses. One of the biggest challenges, which is staffing, still I believe is still one of the biggest. I know the costs are there, and my friend Peter Backman said it really well when I talked with him yesterday. We're going on a panel soon, and we're going to be talking about that. There's short-term challenges. They're right. There is cash challenges. Nobody will deny that. But the long-term systemic challenges, that's what you make you really scared. Can you actually get the staff to open and close your restaurant on time every day in the hours you have, or your hotel, or whatever catering business you're on? But um, what about you, Dan? There's no doubt about I know running any business, but especially when you're smaller, you have multiple hats on, and you are not a big team. So sometimes you are in the engine room, sometimes you are outselling, other times you are dealing with the accounts and so on. So you need also to make sure that you show up in the best version of yourself. And this is one of my favorite questions to ask people. So what is it that you do to be on top of the world, to be in the impact zone, as I call it?
Do you know that's an easy answer for me? I have a 6-year-old son, and he's a great leveler. So it doesn't matter what's going on with work. As soon as
Yeah.
I'm with him, you can't think about work, and actually that removes you from it. It just puts you in a different space, and it's a really happy thing to have. So I think that's the breath of fresh air which I really enjoy. And every weekend, taking him to football, taking him to rugby, it's just brilliant. That's brilliant. You've got no choice but to switch off from your work. So yeah, that's the joy. Um, you could argue that's no time for myself, but I try to get out for a walk, Michael, like other people do. But there isn't that much time for that. But no, so that's the main thing for me. It's a healthy distraction to be with my son.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. But also, like we talked about before we started as well, like that time of silence. And I think you said it really well that actually before you might have been listening to podcasts or music, which I think of course you should listen to podcasts, but I understand people also need to have silence. You
Mm.
need to not be the brain has to be not fed at some point so that all the dust can settle at some point in the week. And I often use the weekend for that, you know and because you get so much input during the week, at some point it needs to settle. The dust needs to settle. It needs to find its compartment boxes in the brain, or else you get overload at some point.
Yeah, you
um
know what? One thing I do is one day a week, one evening a week, I I sort of turn off the television, turn off the radio, and I just read different books. But I'll just sit there with nothing on at all in the lounge, peace and quiet, and just read for an hour. It feels
mm,
really nice. Not sort of work related, like fictional reading, whatever it is, just something to
mm.
just a bit of escapism that way as well. It's very, very feels good actually.
Yeah, it's quite interesting when you talk about reading. I'm an avid reader, and as you can see behind me, there's lots of business book. And there was a time where that was the only thing I read. biographies, business book, and actually in the last, I think we're now starting approaching 1.5 years. I always read, fiction at night, and it's not always. I just pick books. My wife has lots of fiction books, so I pick a book and I read that, and it's just to decompress and get away, get into a different universe, as you say. And it's a
Okay,
5 minutes, or 2 minutes, or 10 minutes before I fall asleep. It just make me not think about work in the last phase before I go to sleep.
I got a book for you, Michael, but
Yeah, let me hear.
it's daily inspiration. Here we go.
Yeah,
Have you seen that
Robin
one before?
Sharma. Yeah, yeah, Daily Inspiration. Yeah.
So yeah, 20 million copies sold. What it is it's got dates in it,
Mm.
and every day there is a different piece of inspiration. Some of it, you can take it or leave it, but some of it really is inspiring. Just
Yeah,
general things about life, and it's really nice. You can read it when you first wake up in the morning. You're like, okay, yeah, actually, that's really good. So that's my recommendation.
that's a great one. Great one. We'll put that in the show notes as well for you out there on the book list on the show as well. What would be your top advice then to business leaders out there that are also trying to build a business that do just a little bit more than just make profit? You talked about just a payment away. That's one of your courses, but like, what is like the one thing business leaders should do out there right now, in your view?
Well, as you've already said, we're not a big team at Hospitality Rewards, but I really believe in empowering your own staff. So one of the key things for me is always, I always say to my team, it's, what can I do for you? And I remember the first time one of my bosses said that to me, I was almost shocked. I was like, what do you mean, what can you do for me? But actually, that means so much to people when they're sort of, especially junior staff, that you want to help them and I think can empower them. So that would be my tip, which is, be there for your staff. It doesn't matter who they're. I spoke to a GM of a really well known hotel, and he told me that his retention rate is now 75%, maybe a bit higher. It's phenomenal. And I said, how have you done that? And they've got 170 staff. He says every single new staff member, every single person, he goes and meets them. He sits down with them. He gives them his number. He gives them his number, and he says, "Look, if you need anything, just message me. Just call me. I'm here for you." And I think that's brilliant. So
Hmm.
that's it. That's it. I think every leader, if they had that sort of mindset and were there for their staff, no matter what level, then it'd be a better place to work. So yeah.
And it's funny when you do that, give them the number. And I can remember many have told me, I've done this in the past, that you're insane. They're going to call you all the time. No, they're not. They're going to call you when they need to call you. And, 9 out of 10 times, that's worth that conversation. There could be some times where it's just a complaint about something. Yeah, you said that, well, that's how we do things around here. And then you have that conversation. They accept that's how we do things out there. But yeah, it gives you like, and also it removes, if you, everybody knows you do that, there's nothing weird about it. The GMs or the people between you, your mid management knows that's there. So it somehow helps you regulate the organization and transparency, and you feel they feel you're much closer than you might sometimes are, because there could be geographical distances and so on. But yeah, my own experience and what I've heard from people that do that is that actually gives a lot of invisible benefits to the culture, and it feeds the soul, which is the culture, with something that actually I'm open to talk with anyone in the organization. And some people say, oh, well, that's almighty good, but what does the phone number does different? But it works. It really works.
Yeah.
And
In
then of course
olden
sometimes
days,
you have to go and seek it as well. You have to go on the floor. You need to be in the front line, talk with people, and ask them questions if you really want this to work as well. Because it's not
in
enough
olden
to
da- in
phone
olden
number
days,
up.
Micah, in olden days, it was called "My Door's Always Open." Of course,
Yeah,
it's not quite the same now, is it? But with mobiles, obviously, and remote working and that sort of stuff. But yeah, absolutely, absolutely, it's
yeah.
the way forward.
Then we're coming to the end. There's one more question or two more question I want to ask you. One of them is, what is the one question you wished I've asked you? What would the question be, and what is your answer?
Um, Probably, I guess, because I'm all about hospitality, recruitment and retention and people. I guess the one question is, why should people work in hospitality?
Mm,
I mean, that's like, that's the big question. And then my answer is very simple: is hospitality is by people and it's for people. And
mm,
I mentioned it earlier. I've worked in other sectors, so I've worked in hospitality not long, 6 or 7 years now. And before that, I've worked in publishing and other sectors. But what I've noticed about hospitality is, as a sector, the people in it are so passionate, so diverse, just really, really lovely people. And so that's it. That's it. That's the question. Why work in hospitality? Because you'll just enjoy it. It's that simple. You'll love it.
I love that. I love that. Where can people connect with you, Dan? Learn more about hospitality rewards and the great work you're doing.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm obviously on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. Um, And we've also got our website, www.hospitalityrewards.co.uk. So there's a live chat on there, and I muck in with everybody else and always answer that live chat. So, feel free to message me on there as well. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I listen, I think being in a startup and having worked up in a startup, I know how tough it is. So I think I'm really happy to talk to anybody, have a chat. I'll always answer people if they email me or if they call me or if they message me. We've all got to help each other, I think.
great. I love that, Dan. Sending you and the team at Hospitality Reward, and I'm looking forward to keep on helping being your ambassador and trying to help banner the great work you're doing to make life easier for definitely for the employees, but also make employee experiences for the employer just that little bit better. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Michael. Have a great afternoon.